right, so we're going to move the agenda around a little bit because some of the trustees need to leave early, and we're going to start with the CDTA study and the contract agreement. So, Scott, can you give us a little brief on the memo and the memo addendum?
So the memo was put out last week with the draft agenda. Just kind of goes over looking at, sorry, we don't currently have pages, so getting us, going to get us there. So the purpose of the memo is to provide the trustees insight into the impact of the CDTA Navigator program. What we did was we used a sample period of 2 weeks in March. We used 2 sources of data, and the methodology is a little bit is explained out a little bit more in the addendum to the memo. But we compared 2 sources of data, the Navigator terminals, to record the number of transactions over this 2-week period, and then when to work, the library scheduling software, to get the amount of hours clerks are scheduled at each location. You'll find that the findings in the corresponding memo are different than what was reported at the April board meeting of trustees. We changed the methodology to reflect the impact of the program on workflow accurately. The original numbers were kind of back of the envelope, and we realized it overstated the percentage of time clerks spent on the Navigator transactions. Instead of calculating the transaction time as a percentage of hours open, we calculated transaction time as a percentage of clerk hours scheduled. So clerks could handle, 2 Navigator transactions, up to 3 Navigator or 4 Navigator transactions at a time. And that's why you saw those numbers kind of go down by, for some it was a considerable amount. We went from 25% at Washington Avenue to 6.73%, and at Bach as low as 0.39%. Then we were asked to look at the cost of the program in terms of frontline staffing. The first thing I wanted to reflect was, since the program launched, we've actually only expanded clerk hours by about 1% because we saw an opening of hours, or actually a 0.58% increase in the amount of hours we've been scheduling our clerks. But that might be more of a reflection of the 1% increase in our hours over that period, and not so much as an increase in work due to the CDTA Navigator card. And also we pointed out that both circulation and fine transactions have decreased at about 5% over several years. But if we did a rundown, the cost of clerical hours is about 3.73%. If we were to times that, even though it's a fixed cost, if we were to times that by the amount that it costs to staff 3.73% clerical hours, it's about a cost of between $10,000 and $11,000. However, the administration views that the hours these clerks are scheduled are fixed. It does not believe eliminating the Navigator program would justify any reduction in staff, nor would a continuation of the program justify hiring an additional staff. So if the program was to stop, we wouldn't see a decrease in the amount of money that it costs us to staff the buildings. Probably the biggest impact that this program has is on monthly deposits, which is a 29% increase, which is sizable. It's significantly more money than we have had in recent history. However, at this point, the budget manager does not believe this has an impact on workflow, but the administration will continue to monitor the situation. But that's probably the biggest impact it has on overall staffing and workflow. We did a comparison of visits. The library saw a decrease in visits from 2015 to 2016 by about 6.27%. There was an additional reduction in visits between 2016 and 17 of 1.49%. However, in 2017, when the Navigator pilot program was launched, we saw an increase of 4.43%, and this year we're trending above 4%. So we do believe that this is, if you look at the locations that are doing the highest amount of transactions, they are actually the locations that are seeing the highest amount of visits in the door. Those are 4 libraries. However, if you look at branches like Bach and Pine Hills, which have actually seen a decrease in visits, they see a very minimal use of this program. So we do believe there's a connection between doing the Navigator program and having people coming in the door. Card registration was a little bit more difficult. Card registration 2016 and 2017 decreased by about 2.87%, but in 17, card registration actually increased by about 4.51%. Data for card registration is not as robust as data for library visits, so we couldn't really drill down and see if there's as much of a correlation as we're seeing with library visits. We also did an anonymous survey with frontline leadership. So that would be senior clerks, branch managers, and head of branch services. 4 out of 14 staff responded that the program does negatively impact library service and circulation